Media. And tonight we got a good one for you. We're going an hour early to make way for the rematch of the second round NCAA tournament game between the Florida Gators and the UConn Huskies. Huskies looking for a little get back, seeing as the Gators knocked them off the pedestal, took away the three-peat this last March. So a little bit of a showdown, a little bit of a throwdown there in Madison Square Gardens. But before we get to the basketball, we're going to do a little football. Rob Brown of SEC Sidelines will be joining me, as well as a good friend of the show, Tony Geiger, the father of Jalen Geiger, who played for Brad Smith and John Summerall at Kentucky, as well as Summerall at Tulane, to shed light on what the Gators are really getting in John Summerall and defense coordinator Brad Smith, and talk a little football. We get into the college football playoff. How do you guys feel about these opt-outs? Teams opting out, taking their ball and going home. We'll get into that as well. Kicks of the week is in the building, and we'll probably do a little hyper have at it as well. Subscribe to the Lowdown with Lauren Meadows on YouTube and Facebook, and our partner shows on the Sidelines Live Network, Scarborough Knows, SEC Sidelines, and of course, our flagship show, The Buddy Martin Show with the man, Buddy Martin. Follow yours truly on Facebook, Instagram at Ohio Gator for Life, X at Real Ohio Gator, and TikTok at Ohio Gator for Life. We would like to thank our sponsors, Meldon Law and Titan MRI and Imaging. And let's get to it. And with that, we bring in our man, Rob Brown. And I'm going to go off a little bit while Rob comes into play. Rob, you had a little playoff action. The playoffs shaked out. Kind of went the way everybody thought it would go outside of the folks in South Bend. And I got to be honest. I was one that didn't think Notre Dame should be in over the 12 teams that got in, except if you're going to exclude Tulane and James Madison. But when it came down to the eye test as well as the strength of schedule, you look at who each team played. I thought that Miami deserved to be in above ahead of Notre Dame just based on the head-to-head and like opponents and the results. And then I thought Alabama deserved to be in as well, and those that know me know that I'm not an SEC homer because I hate every team in the SEC except Florida. So, I will never be one that I'm not a person that if Georgia's playing Michigan, I'm rooting for Michigan. Yeah. If Vanderbilt is playing Pitt, I'm rooting for Pitt. I don't want nobody I used to feel sorry for Vandy, but I don't feel sorry for them anymore because they won 10 games this year. So, but what really, floored me was, and I feel bad because I know the head coach. I've known him for quite some time, know a couple guys on the staff. I was shocked that a school like Notre Dame with so much tradition, so much, I used to really, I was like, hey, if they don't want to be in a conference, don't be in a conference. If you want to do your NBC thing, by all means, take advantage of that. But when they kind of took their ball and went home, and then there were other schools like Temple and Iowa State and schools that, they lucky to sniff a bowl. It's been a while since they've been sniffing bowls. Why these teams would opt out if their coach is leaving and things like that, I just feel like you're hurting the kids, in my opinion. Now, if the kids collectively, decided to miss that and not get into that and not play a bowl game, then shame on them too, because a lot of us would give anything to play one more football game, to be out there with our brothers, and it just it floored me that that's what we're doing. I could see maybe, I don't like it, but I could see one or two people, but the whole team, I'm surprised that most of these teams who are in conferences don't have some repercussions from the conferences. But maybe it's a new generation, man. My nephew tells me that, LeBron is their GOAT and Lil Wayne is their GOAT when it comes to hip hop, and they like Lil Uzi this and Lil Smack that, and we like, I like Rakim, Prince, and Jay-Z and Nas. So I don't know, Rob. I mean, maybe I'm old man, get off my lawn. I'm the Grinch that stole hip hop, but I don't like this for the game that I love.
I don't either. I mean, I'm an Irish, Scotch Irish Catholic, and I'm just really disgusted in what Notre Dame did. I've had this discussion with a lot of my Notre Dame friends today, and they're like, well, there's SEC bias. It doesn't matter that when the Notre Dame guys walked off the field against Stanford for the last time, none of them thought that'd be the last time they'd ever suit up. And you ask any player that played college football, D1, 2, or 3, they would give anything to go back and have one more chance to run through the tunnel, to hit somebody, to play with their teammates. And we had Yan Cowart, and Yan is a friend of mine, was a walk-on when I was in college, 4-year starter on the offensive line at Auburn, and majoring in architecture. And he said, I just can't imagine. He goes, we're having a reunion for my team. He goes, think about it, in the future, these kids that come here for a semester or two, you're going to have a team reunion with 300 or 400 people there.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's where we're going. It's silly. It's stupid. And we got the tail wagging the dog. The adults need to take over. I'm sorry, when you're 18, you don't get to do things that 45 and 50-year-olds do, because they've been 18, they've been 45. They're smarter than you. You just got to accept that.
Yeah, I was floored. I mean, I cannot believe it. I think the way that the playoffs shaped out, I think they have at least 10 of the 12 best teams. I don't necessarily understand how James Madison could backdoor in, but whatever. And we'll see. I think it's funny that the coach that, I guess not funny, it's just interesting. I won't say that the coach that is replacing Billy Napier is in the playoff, and the coach that he's replacing is in the playoff as well. So, it's interesting that dynamic is there. But I was just floored by Notre Dame. Here's my thing. You think you deserve to be in the playoff. You think it's SEC bias. Well, then go to a bowl game. You'd probably play Vanderbilt or somebody like that, Texas, and then prove you belong there. If you really think it's SEC bias, why wouldn't you line up and stick it to an SEC team unless you really think, ooh, we might be biting off more than we can handle? Especially while you're touting, we got the best player in the country. If Love is the best player in the country, and he's should win the Heisman. You ask a Notre Dame guy, I had a conversation with a Notre Dame player, even though I don't think he should win the Heisman, because I don't think he played that well against their two losses. But that was the case. And why not jump on one of these SEC schools and make a point? So it just tells me that A, you didn't backdoor in, and B, you don't want none of this.
Well, Notre Dame, the 4 finalists for the Heisman have been announced. It's Fernando Mendoza, Indiana, Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt, Jeremiah Love, and Julian Sayin. Julian Sayin, what he is the latest version they've rolled out of the best player on the best team in the country with a loaded roster. I mean, that doesn't make him the Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, he's like a drone, like a droid.
Right. Pavia would probably get my vote.
Oh, Pavia gets my vote, and I don't have a vote. But
right, I don't either.
The problem is the Heisman voting is broken up into 6 regions in America. The Northeast, they're going to vote for the Notre Dame guy. The Midwest will get for Fernando Mendoza. Pavia, if you look up the definition of what the Heisman Trophy winner is, the best player, but he makes everybody on his team better. I think Indiana could have put any other really good quarterback in there. Pavia, Vanderbilt is, the usual 3-9, 4-8 without him. And Stowers, the tight end, he's a hell of a player. But Pavia, Vanderbilt didn't get to the playoffs. They didn't deserve to. They manned up, handled it like big boys.
And they're going to buckle it up with somebody.
Yeah, and remember how Georgia handled it 2 years ago? Back-to-back national champions, 12-0 in the regular season. Alabama beat them in the SEC championship. Rather than have a pout fit and spread the dreary wearies all over the place like a 2-year-old brat. I've raised a lot of kids. I'm telling you, I've seen it. We've all seen it. They manned up, and Florida State, on the other hand, went in the toilet, and 31 guys quit the team. Don't give me that euphemism crap of opt out. You quit.
You quit.
You
Absolutely.
quit on your teammates. You have a bond for life. I have never quit anything in my life. I would not be allowed to. I'm so glad. And Georgia beat them 63-3. And you know what? Norvell has never gotten that team back. The culture was destroyed. Marcus Freeman, I love you. You're a hell of a coach. Clint Dowdle, your agent, is a great guy. But this was to say, well, the players don't decide. I mean, this is bigger than them. And we shouldn't have allowed this to happen. And as far as in James Madison, crazy. Signetti comes from there to Indiana. Now the coach at James Madison's got them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, take the job at James Madison, man. It's a great. It may be the best.
Maybe this is the salve that Billy needs. I'm gonna tell you, he better hire an offensive coordinator because I'm rooting for him unless he doesn't hire an offensive coordinator. He don't hire an offensive coordinator. I'm emailing him and I'm like, come on, dude, you should know better. And like I said, we appreciate you guys joining us a little bit early tonight. We're taking a little time for the UConn Florida basketball game. I'm going to say this, and then we're going to bring in my man, Tony. Everybody relax about this basketball team. I'm sick of people talking about this men's basketball team. And shout out to Kelly Ray Finley. They took care of South Alabama this past weekend. Liv McGill, 34 points. They got Layla Reynolds. I call her the Lamar Odom of the team. And then they have freshman Nitty Yeech. You might like her, Rob. Check her out. When they play Auburn, she had her first career double-double, Canadian girl out of Calgary. So shout out to Kelly Ray Finley and the women. You guys know how we feel about them. But a big game coming up in Madison Square Garden tonight. So we're going to handle our business. And with that, we're going to bring in my man, Tony Geiger. Backstory on Tony. I don't even know how long we've known each other, but it's been quite some time. And he's joining us from Columbia, South Carolina, whose son left the state, went to Kentucky for a few years, and then finished his career at Tulane. Jalen, great safety, still trying to work out, find his niche in the NFL or one of these leagues. But Tony is somebody whose son not only played for both Brad White and Summerall, but also was real active as a part of the parent community, things like that. So he's been to practice. He's seen what these guys are about. So, when everybody talks about, and I'm a coach's coach. So I don't care where you came from. I don't care if you Division III, if you came from, I played against Larry Karras for 4 years at Mount Union. He could have coached anywhere. Jim Tressel was at Youngstown State. For how you feel about him. So I think it's unfair to label a coach Sunbelt this or Power 5 or Group of 5 this. Guys can coach. And so far, John Summerall is somebody who at least has presented himself as somebody who's up to the challenge. And you talk to people like Tony and others, and they know what it is. So, looking for big things, obviously long way to go. I always say, don't give me fluff. Give me them 12 Saturdays in the fall. But Tony, tell us, what you know about John Summerall, Brad White, and what they're going to bring to a program like Florida.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah, got you loud and clear, bro.
Great, yeah. Sorry for the background, man. I'm freezing down here in Columbia, man. It's 40 degrees, man. I'm sitting out back, in the outdoor area. I don't want to be in the house because it's too much noise in there. But no, so of course, Lauren, just like you said, I've been very grateful and blessed to be a part of some really good programs. We spent several years at Kentucky, and I'll preface it by saying I'm a little biased with John Summerall because when my son was his first or second year at Kentucky, Summerall was a defensive coach, I think linebackers, but he saw something in Jalen, and I think that was the beginning of a very special relationship, professionally and personally. And so when John left to go to Troy, a lot of people at that time thought that maybe John would maybe take over as DC at Kentucky. So when we got there, when we were recruited, Matt House was the DC at Kentucky, and then he went to the Chiefs, and then Brad White took over, and then so we were able to kind of develop a relationship with Brad White and John Summerall simultaneously for several years. So of course, my son Jalen went to the portal, and then when Summerall called him, we were actually out and about traveling around the country doing visits, and John Summerall called my son on his phone and was like, "Get to New Orleans tomorrow." And we saluted and executed. I'm retired military, so excuse the military jargon, but
I love it.
yeah, retired Army. So it was it was an honor and a blessing. So we literally did a U-turn and left where we were. I won't say where, and drove to New Orleans and sat down with John. And it was like it was how can I say this? Like, it was such a level of comfort knowing that as a parent, okay, this is a guy that I know is a good man. So as a parent, you want someone you can trust. But then when you get past that, how will he develop or be a part of developing my son, the team? I saw what he did at Troy for a couple of years. But at Tulane, I'm telling you right now, and my son has told me, and Lauren, we talked about this, of all the coaches he's ever had, and this ain't just player speak or coach speak, he said, Coach Summerall was my favorite coach. And I'm a big why guy. What is your why? He said, and we talked about it earlier today as he's traveling back home to Columbia. He said, some coaches, no names, will give you coach speak on a Friday. Maybe pregame coach speak. But it may die down on a Tuesday, a random Wednesday practice. He said, I was in that locker room as a super senior, and I saw freshmen, seniors, in-state guys buy in on his passion and the manner in which he cared about football, developing young men, and they practice with intensity every single day. And we all know as football fans, make it hard during the week.
Oh, yeah.
So come Saturday, it's muscle memory. So I would tell you this, and I love what you said, Lauren, like the group of five, power 4, whatever you call it these days. To me, that's a moot point because I was very grateful and blessed to be the parent president for UK football for 3 years. So I've met a lot of parents, still in contact with a lot of parents, a lot of those who went to NFL, the Will Levises, the Wandale Robinsons, all love them, love their families, phenomenal. When I got to Tulane, I was kind of in a similar role. And the reason I say that is because when you get that feedback from parents, it's a little different. It's a little more genuine in terms of, analysts and media and coaches and fans. They have a different lens. But I spent, as I'm retired, I spent the whole spring there last year in New Orleans, stayed with Jalen. And I spent the first 6-7 weeks of the season at Jalen's apartment in New Orleans. So I was able to go to practice, talk to coaches, the DCs, the equipment guy, the secretary, and the feedback, the energy was so different. And every time John seen me, and I text him another day, congratulations, coach. on your hire at Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't go into detail of his private conversation, but you know what his first response was? Job not done.
Mm.
I said, exactly.
Right.
Beat the brakes off North Texas and continue to lean forward in the foxhole. But to me, that's a commitment that of course, it's a carousel. Other coaches gone, left. The Hartline is the Kiffins, the whatever. Job's not done.
Yep.
And that reinforces his character in terms of his passion for his players. And one more thing, I say this, and I know, we're going to have some dialogue. My son said, Dad, on a random Wednesday, we'll be at a team meeting and we got whomever coming up next. He said, Coach Summerall will be so much passion that he would get emotional on a random Wednesday when we're playing Navy, whomever.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that speaks to what I think is such a rising star in this profession. And, and Lauren, again, we've talked about it. Like, Florida is a little different for us in terms of
Yeah, you can tell. You can tell it.
I mean, my son, had a season-ending injury
Right.
when we were there. Cooking the first quarter, whatever. So the swamp is. But I told John, I said, man, I'm a Gator fan.
Yeah.
And that says a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Because I think he's going to bring such a different type of grit.
Right. No doubt.
To Gainesville. So that's kind of my initial take on everything.
Right. Well, Rob, and one of the other things that Tony and I talked about was the fact that, and you've been around these schools, you do a lot of traveling, is the I don't want to say lack of resources, but Tulane's a different place. It doesn't have the same feel. And Tony's going to tell us a little story just about the difference in the atmosphere. But Rob, as well, for Summerall to basically have his team on the doorstep of the playoffs 2 years in a row at a place like Tulane with limited resources and be able to get these guys to play at a high level, I think speaks to the kind of coach that he can become at a place like Florida.
Well, Tony, my friend John Hartwell is very close to John Summerall, so I know a lot about. He's known him since he was in high school. I sat right behind John Summerall at the Memphis-Tulane game a few weeks ago in Memphis, and I told someone, I said, going back to my years as a TV reporter, he has the charisma and the badassness of Sergeant Major in the Army. I used to see it at Fort Benning all the time. You know what I'm talking about. I went to several retirement ceremonies for, as they say, Sergeant Major. There's a G in there somewhere, but that's the way they say it. I'll never forget that. When a Sergeant Major retires, the 3- and 4-star generals kiss their ring, and because they make them who they are. John Summerall is like that. I watched him walk up to every player on the field, interact with every one of them, talk to his coaches, go over there and visit with Silverfield. And I'm sure they were talking about a lot of things, maybe their new jobs, but man, he coaches his ass off during the games. And to do what he's done at Tulane, with a school with the academic standards in New Orleans, with all the crazy distractions going on, I know I like Billy Napier. It was tough watching that. This is a guy, he's played for a conference championship all 4 years he's been a head coach. And Buddy Martin asked him a question, I think it was the last one at his introductory press conference, about the way you handled your injury and all. And only Buddy can ask a question like that, because Buddy's forgotten more than I know about writing. He's our mentor. Mm-hmm. But that was powerful stuff. But another friend of mine's son is at Troy, and he was talking to Coach Summerall. I mean, he's a kid from a high school in Tuscaloosa, texting him. He said that guy took such an interest as a walk-on And if he treats a walk-on like that, he values people. And one thing you learn is don't ever walk by someone on the street and not acknowledge their existence.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know they matter. This is a guy. I mean, obviously, I'm an Auburn grad. I wanted him at Auburn. Florida's got the best coaching hire in college football this year. I don't care about Lane Kiffin. Summerall's a better man, and that matters. I just had to get that off my chest.
And Rob, I would tell you this. So coming from the SEC,
yeah,
again, pregame and resources, and I won't say I'll say we created an atmosphere there for the parents at Kentucky where we want ESPN and SEC Network and Big Blue Nation, et cetera, et cetera. So I go to Tulane, to your point, and helping with the parent group, and John Summerall was like, "Hey, man, you can do the same thing here." I said, "I'll do the best I can. I'm only here a year."
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you this, Rob. My first game, home game, I walked through the footprint of the campus, going to the parent tailgate area.
Yeah.
And I promise you, I thought maybe there was an active shooter. Like, where's everybody at? Something's going on. Like, it was so empty. And again, no disrespect to Tulane fan base, and I love him to life. But that, for him to do that when it's not, I mean, if you're in Lexington, Kentucky, Auburn, Alabama, Columbus, Ohio, you go to the local Walmart and you can find Buckeye gear, Auburn. I go to the local Walmart in New Orleans, no Tulane, nothing.
Yeah.
It's LSU and the Saints and the Pelicans.
Yeah. Yep.
So again, I'm kind of digressing a bit, but for him to win there and create that type of atmosphere that people really want to gravitate towards.
Yeah.
Man. And his strength coach was an Army Ranger guy. So
wow.
And my wife is a retired first sergeant. So, I'm retired chief. So that mindset. My son told me, said, "Dad, Coach Summerall was a middle linebacker at Kentucky, led the team in tackles. So he has that middle linebacker mentality."
Mm-hmm.
And when you bring that to the space, it's blue collar. And man, now he's going to have the resources.
Yeah.
In Gainesville, bro.
Yeah. No doubt. And I think that, and like I said, not only we're talking about, and I mentioned Tony last week, retired military. His wife is retired military, like I said, first sergeant in the Army. But also Tony is somebody, he mentioned his son, Jalen. He also has a son, Eric, who I coached against. He actually returned the kickoff against us. That wasn't cool, right before halftime, but we got him the next year. But he, right. So the father of two Division I players. So this is not somebody with Tulane or Kentucky glasses on. This is somebody who's had, two young men play at a high level and understands what makes coaches. So, when we talk about a guy like Summerall, Rob, and me, my issue is, how are we preparing? How are we organizing? And the things that I don't mind a million people in a Jordan shirt, but you got to tell me how those million affect winning. And that, and I think that Summerall alluded to that in the initial press conference is, I'm a winner. I want winners, but the people around me have to affect us winning, Rob, for sure.
I mean, it's everything you do every day. It's the little things that he's so good on, and just the way he talks to people. He is interested in them. And Tony, there was a great article in The Athletic a few weeks ago about just the way he constantly challenges his guys to get better. The only easy day was yesterday. That's kind of the way he lives, and he's going to look at things like, okay, what is this group doing? What's the receiver group doing? What's the offensive line group doing? How are we going to do better? A lot of people let the circumstances that they're dealt dictate their outcome in life. I'm of the belief, treat the word impossible as motivation. You can't win at Tulane. Well, look what he did. You can't win at 21-3 at Troy. what they did at Kentucky. They got that thing rolling, and now they're going to get a change. Will Stein, it's a really good hire. So
Yeah.
I love what you're saying about the parents. That people forget about that, just when our kids are off in college, there are parent groups. Those kids, they get homesick. They got problems, in the military, you get deployed for a year overseas. You got an officer, you got an XO, you got a command master sergeant. You want to know what's going on in the platoon? Who do you ask? The command master sergeant. Somebody
Right.
needs to John Hartwell and I talked today, and I know I've learned a lot about John Summerall from him. You just nailed it. It's the way he treats people. Get to New Orleans right now.
Right.
He's not too busy to call people. And now you're at Florida with unlimited resources. All Florida needs is the captain of the ship that the people can believe in. And don't criticize him from coming from a group of 5 school. This guy was born to win championships. It's the way, as he said, I became the very best mediocre player I could be. And he took pride in that. You know what? Hey, look at him. Look at the guy. He's 6'3"? He looks like he could suit up and play right now.
Oh, yeah.
I would not cross paths with him.
Every time, Rob, when I'm at practice or whatever,
Yeah.
he would come up to me, and I'm not a helicopter dad. I'm
Yeah.
a spot on the wall.
Yeah.
But because of my experience with, again, the parent groups and
Yeah.
other things, and helping with the collective and tailgates and raising money for, and things I've done.
Yeah.
Every time he saw me, he would give me the biggest bear hug.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But it wasn't fake or hate, because it's one thing when a coach is recruiting your son.
Yeah.
Right. Everything is great. Once he gets there, okay, well, he's here now. So he's so consistent. And then, of course, what I kind of like, and again, I'm disclaimer, I'm born and raised in Dayton, Ohio, so I'm naturally a Buckeye. But
I'm not, but
I know.
How can you not be, Tony? How can you not be for the Buckeyes?
There's some Northern Ohio guys who are close to that team up north, but I digress.
Oh.
But look at Kirk Signetti, JMU, so you can say, well, he's coming from a group of 5 or whatever. I'm telling you. And one more thing too, back to the parents. I keep harping on that because that's almost lost. A happy parent can translate to a happy player.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I'm getting feedback from parents, I had 205 parents at Kentucky.
Wow.
From as far west as California to 3 from overseas to Boston to the Levises to Connecticut. I mean, like, same thing in New Orleans. But the constant feedback I get was, man, like Summerall, and the coaches. Coaches, because we know leadership is one thing about getting the players to buy in, but it's another thing about getting your staff, your DCs, your OCs, your strength guy, your quality control guy, your whomever. They were all synced in and locked in and bought in, and it showed. Even in the face of adversity, the previous year, we were at Army, or we were. I traveled every single game. I drove the whole season, 23,000 miles.
Yeah. I mean, we linked up at the Gasparilla. I mean, that was
Right.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
I'm
Tony.
just saying, but I just saw the consistent Army guy. Now, I am not going to ever compare combat to football.
Yeah.
But I have 5 combat deployments, very grateful and blessed. But when you go into battle with 18, 20, 22-year-old kids, that leadership component of fighting through adversity, man, he got it, bro. I'm so happy for him and his family, his wife and kids. I love seeing them. They give me the same bear hugs pregame. I talked to them the other day. I'm like, I gotta get some Gator gear now.
Yeah, I got you, bro. I'm gonna send it up to where I'm bringing it this year when South Carolina, when we play South Carolina, I'm bringing it. Let's pay some bills real quick and talk about people that just do a great job. The folks at Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, a proven and skilled lawyer since 1971, gave out championship rings, Tony, replica championship rings to 10,000 people a couple weeks ago, to
Wow.
the first 10,000 fans that came to the Merrimack game, got replica championship rings to celebrate the Gators national title. Like we said, we're going an hour early because of the Gators playing in the Jimmy V Classic tonight against two-time champion UConn. So you got the last three national champions going at it. But Meldon Law continue to have giveaways, game balls. They honored the Meldons that night. But, not only doing great things in the Gainesville community, but able to help you with personal injury law. If you have a law need, a legal need that they can't help you with, they'll point you in the right direction and get you where you're going. Always giving a little swag. We got all kind of tumblers that my wife said, don't bring another Meldon Law tumbler home. So we had to give them away. But the folks at Meldon Law just doing a great job for Gainesville, the Florida Gators, and now really getting their footprint all the way down in South Florida. But Meldon Law, we won't back down. Rob, now, the other thing I'll tell you about Tony, and he won't say this, so Tony works out every day, and he's a shoe guy too. And he has kicks of the day that he works out, and he works out in Jordans, which my feet would kill me if I worked them out in my Jordans. But Tony, we got this thing every week. We call it Kicks of the Week. So I bring out a pair, try to impress Rob. But since you're here, I'm gonna try to impress you too. So tonight we got the Jackie Robinson.
Wow.
The Jackie Robinson. Shout out to I'm trying to get some sponsorship here, but shout out to Flight Club for the Jackie Robinson dunks. You see them there, Rob. See the baseball string on them, and then the 42.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Wow.
so that's so I rocked these the other day, and I think they got some words, a little bit of quotes from Jackie Robinson, things like that. So I rocked these Sunday at the South Alabama girls game. So every week, Tony, we break out some kicks of the week
I
and
love it.
and show
Yeah.
people what's going on. Rob,
That's
what you
what
got
we
on? Rob always brings what you got on today, Rob. Rob might have some Birkenstocks on. There you go. Okay, he got
The new barber half boot. I can slip them on and off.
Right, no doubt. So
Yeah. But you know what? One more thing too. And again, I'm a sneakerhead. So Lauren always jokes around like, "How are you working on Jordans? Like you working on geriatric shoes or whatever?" But I probably have about 200 pair of shoes and
yeah.
probably about 80 pair of Jordans. I still have a couple of like them Jackie Robinsons. I wouldn't work out with them. They would be on a shelf somewhere.
Right.
But
Well, my wife, man, she makes me wear them. She's like, if you're gonna buy them, you gotta wear them. So she makes me wear them. That's yeah.
But let me say a couple things. I know you don't have a lot of time. One, and they're separate little topics.
Well, I want to talk about Brad White too. So go ahead.
And that's the second one, actually.
Yeah.
Great segue. But I will say this: when we were there a couple years ago, that game where my son got injured, I will say when we were tailgating with you guys, you and Marsha, and I was a little reluctant, like, okay, we're going to pop up a UK tent and Gator Nation, but man, that fan base, them guys were so welcoming, and I've traveled across the SEC for 5 years. I mean, to Tuscaloosa, to the Plains, to whatever, but your fan base, man. Much props, very respectful, and again, fans are fans, but I want to say that. But the perfect segue, Brad White. So Brad White, man, we spent 5 years with Brad, and I mean, I talk to Brad still, very grateful to do so. But he brings an NFL defense. And Jay and I talked about that today. You know, um, I think the irony, right? John worked for Brad.
Right.
When
Yeah.
we got there, Matt House left for Kansas City. Brad was a DC. Summerall was a linebackers coach. So for Summerall to be on this trend, if you will, and to bring in Brad speaks volumes.
Right.
And again, I know you guys are going to elaborate, but I love that hire because Brad White he's brilliant, but he's another person. Like when we got in the portal, I'll just say this for what it's worth. The first person my son spoke to was Brad White because
Right.
of the amount of respect he has for the type of person he is, type of coach, and all that stuff. So I think that's a great hire. Because I asked Jalen one more thing. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I
This is what
said
we're here for.
because Stoops was more of a defensive coach, right? We know that.
Mm-hmm.
Played defensive back at Iowa, etc. I said, how was Summerall? He said he was kind of neutral, which he said actually works better because he just doesn't rely on the OC 100%. Like, I'm going to be involved and kind of hold you accountable. And we know accountability is everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, again, I'm kind of all over the place, but I think Brad White's a great hire. And I think that's going to, yeah.
I mean, Rob, you talk to everybody. You cover all 16 schools. Brad White, I think, could be, because what Florida, even though Ron Roberts was doing a great job, what Florida has gotten away from, I think, is being sound and efficient on defense on a weekly basis, like you have to be in the NFL. So we talk about an NFL defense being efficient,
Mhm.
managing time, effective week to week performance. And that's what I like about Brad White, because that's what you saw at Kentucky when they were at the height. They kind of lost some dogs, but when they had the dogs or kind of the dogs, they were one of the best defenses in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Brad White, I mean, you talk to anybody, all these different folks we talked to covering all 16 schools. He's the Kiffin killer. He's the Kirby killer. I mean, look at those teams go up there to Lexington. Hell, last year in 24, Kentucky went to Oxford and shut
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss down. So, and Dave Bartu told me about this, who's on our show every week, College Football Matrix and staffing of college and pro teams. He said Brad White is the secret sauce at Kentucky. And here he is. And now he's at Florida. And in fairness to Ron Roberts, when your defense is on the field as much as they were because Florida's offense was so ineffective, that's an unfair evaluation. Now,
Yeah, that's what I told somebody on the show before. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So now you're going to have Brad White there with, Buster Faulkner from Georgia Tech. Now you're going to get to see real football.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be completely different, I think. And it's a positive thing. Won't be perfect, but now with all the athletes Florida has, and you just start, blowing on those coals and getting that flame going, I mean, you're going to start choosing again. You're not going to have to recruit.
Yeah, and speaking of athletes, and like I said, I like what you said about Brad Smith. Rob, you talked to quite a few people, and everything's been positive about them, but also positive. Somebody asked, Ed McKenzie asked, is Ba staying? From everything I heard, I think Jaden Ba will stay. He's got a good thing at Florida, and then anytime the coach opens up the press conference by saying, "Yeah, I'd have gave you the ball to him 10 more times," I think that's really good to know. I think DJ Lagway wants to stay and see how things are going to Buster Faulkner. I think DJ believes that if he has a true off season with spring and summer healthy, that he can really kind of make a step. And someone also mentioned, and yes, I will eat crow, although I don't think the Big Ten officials know how to call holding. But Indiana did beat the Ohio State Buckeyes this weekend, and in what could probably be a precursor to maybe the national championship game and a rematch. But yes, Indiana found a way and made the plays. And I told my brother, we were kind of watching the game simultaneously. He was up in Columbus and I was in Gainesville. And then that big third down, I said, they're going to throw a fade. And they did. And kid made a great play and put the game away. But, shout out to Indiana. But, yeah, I'll eat some crow. Y'all can give it to me. Can't remember who said they wanted to give it to me. But, Neo 476. So I'll take that. I give y'all enough smoke when I think y'all off base and out of pocket. So I'll take that L. And I know Tony has to be here for that. But with that, Tony, and you're a football guy, so I'll take your thoughts on this if you want to stick with us. We've got about 10 more minutes left, and we kind of do a thing here. It's called Hype or Have At It. So if it's hype, you ain't really messing with it. If it's have at it, then yeah, you're with it. So we kind of go around, and the big story has been on the chat board a little bit. Alabama deserved to be in the 12-team playoff, and we give you first crack at it, Tony. Hype or have at it?
I say have at it, and here's why. And I'm born and raised Big Ten. But having had a front row seat for 5 years in the SEC, I am telling you, I know they're a 3-loss team or whatever, but man, they are still scary. They're not Nick Saban scary. I get it. But who else outside of Notre Dame? We won't go there unless y'all want to. The Notre Dame Miami fiasco. Head-to-head. But I say have at it, meaning I think that they're scary, man. They're still Bama.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that win against Georgia has to count for something.
Yes.
And that win against Vanderbilt has to count against something. And Rob, and we'll let you have it. But not only did that, here's my thing, is I can understand a Notre Dame fan being upset.
Sure.
I can understand maybe somebody from another conference. What I have a problem with is SEC fans being upset that Alabama is in, because the first thing an SEC fan wants to do is poke out their shirt and go SEC, SEC. So if it's the best conference, why isn't the team that is beating the best of that conference in the playoff? Rob, have at it.
Alabama, have at it. They should be in the playoff. And I'm saying this as an Auburn grad. You have to tell it like it is. They shouldn't look at 10-2. They were in. You can't penalize them for playing in a conference championship game. Now, 2 years ago in the 14 playoff, 12-0 Georgia lost to Bama. They were out. They didn't act like 2-year-old brats like Florida State did. They went and kicked Florida State's ass 63-3. And as I mentioned earlier, Norvell cannot get that culture back. And so, yeah, they should be there. And I think Alabama won 4 or 5 games in a row against ranked opponents.
Yeah.
So that's not nothing, as they say in the South. That's something. Right. And so, yeah, give them credit. And I don't know what they'll do. They're playing at Oklahoma. If you get into a shootout, I give the advantage to Alabama because Oklahoma's offense isn't all that good, but their defense is nasty good. You better not turn it over like Alabama did. 3 turnovers, but you got to give Oklahoma credit for taking advantage and creating those turnovers. Those defensive guys are not there to watch you score. People forget that. I always give credit where it's due. All the credit in the world goes to Oklahoma for that game.
Right. Another hyper have at it. Talk about Indiana and Ohio State. Indiana is the number 1 team in the country based on the playoff ranking, but hyper have at it. Did the Ohio State Indiana game show you enough that Indiana is the best team in the country, or is someone outside of, Texas A&M, but is Indiana the best team in the country based on what you saw, Rob? Hyper have that.
They are, but forget about strength of schedule. Who wants to play Ohio State? That's like, who wants to sit in their granddad's lap when he's in the electric chair? Nobody wants to play them. I don't care who they're playing. That collection of talent is the best in the country. And Indiana, with 5 or 6 really good players, and the rest of them just the best coached kids in America, that was a true 1 versus 2 matchup. And what was it, 13-10? There ain't much separation in those two. And there's 3 teams that can win the national championship: Indiana, Ohio State, and Georgia. It's going to be one of those 3. If I'm wrong, hell, I'll shotgun a 40-ounce Hamm's beer on the show. I mean, I'm just telling you, Ohio State. And by the way, Tony, tell me this. I'm getting all these people texting me. Is Caleb Downs, he's playing in the game, isn't he?
So far,
What is all that chatter? I mean, I can't
yeah,
imagine that.
yeah, I can't see a situation where anyone at Ohio State
Yeah.
doesn't finish the task at hand.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, he's going to be, top whatever pick, but I would be. I'm doing the same shotgun of 40, whatever.
I'm going to do it.
A complete Ohio State squad, because, and maybe it's a segue to your question, Lauren. In terms of Indiana, I think it's a little bit more hype. I'm biased.
You answered the question.
Yeah.
But people ask me, man, like, what are your thoughts when I sat out here, like right here, and watched that game? I told my son Jalen, I said, Ohio State probably needed to lose that game.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's best to do it now versus the first round of playoffs when you don't have another shot.
Right.
I cannot see a situation where Ohio State plays like that again the rest of the season. Just like the previous year when we lost to that team up north, but then ran off.
Right.
So I think you just absolutely poked the bear. And I agree with Rob. I think Indiana, in no particular order, Ohio State, and man, Georgia. Whew,
Yeah.
it's
tough.
Yeah.
So Rob kind of he should write the show, because the last and final question, and we'll send it right back to you, Tony, is hyper have at it somebody other than Ohio State, Florida. Excuse me. God, I wish. Ohio State, Indiana, and Georgia can win the national title. Hyper have at it.
Now I'm gonna say have at it, bro.
You think someone else can win the national title?
No, I'm sorry. That's hype. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hype.
I think that's too much hype. I really do. I stand 10 toes down on that. I think one of those 3 teams. I mean, you can go to A&M's and and all those.
Texas Tech.
The Texas Tech. I just think from top to bottom. And here's where coaching really comes into play. We know about Signetti, what he's done, phenomenal, coach of the year, almost hands down. And there's also a little bit of writing on the wall amongst people in Columbus. Is Hartline too focused on going South Florida? Did he, is he going to be locked in to finish the job? But Matt Patricia, I think he's sharpening that pencil in his ear. I think it's going to come down to coaching scheme and Ryan Day, of course. So I think, I'm not saying take nothing away from other coaches, but I think that those 3 teams, Kirby Smart, I've seen him up close for 5 years. We played in Athens and whatever. Man, that team is super scary. So I think one of those 3 teams will win the national championship. I don't think there's no Cinderella. Now, I'll say this before I turn on to Rob. You got a few minutes left. If there was a Cinderella story, I'm going to throw in some other bias.
Tulane.
Tulane.
Go Green Wave for sure, Rob.
I've had about 50 parents or so, like they are like salivating at the mouth to go back to Oxford for a rematch.
Right.
So, I mean, that's my Cinderella if there is one.
Right. Rob?
I heard Corey Gleer, the play-by-play guy for the Tulane Football Network, being interviewed this afternoon on the way back to the house. RMFW. That's their cheer down there that Summerall came up with. I mean, but as far as any other team, Dave Bartu gave us this stat yesterday. In this century, there's not been a single national champion at the end of the season raising that trophy that wasn't top 3 defense or top 3 offensive scoring efficiency in the country at that time. So you got to look at Ohio State and Indiana. They both can say that. Georgia cannot. Mm-hmm. That's why Georgia's the wild card here. Are they even a top 25 defense? This is the SEC that we're playing with right now. The depth is gone. The guy that used to be your second or third teamer, he's starting for Cignetti at Indiana. He's starting for Dillingham at Arizona State. He's starting for Summerall at Tulane. And remember, Tulane lost their quarterback Mensah to Duke for $4 million last year. And they're still in the playoffs.
Hold up, Rob. They also lost Mekhi Hughes.
Yeah.
Who was he rushed for 1,300 yards as a freshman. He went to Oregon.
Yeah.
So to be here at the playoffs without Mensah and Hughes.
Yeah. I wanted to throw that out there because that's a big ass deal. A badge.
Yeah,
by the way, thank you for your service. My brother-in-law did 7 combat deployments in the Marine Corps. God bless you, man. You are a true American badass, and thank you for an honor being on with you. Is all I got to say.
No, thanks,
no doubt. Yeah, well, we let me pay some bills real quick, and then we'll holler out. But we want to thank the good folks at Titan MRI and Imaging, 3 locations in Gainesville. That's my little thing. Sorry about that. Let me know the Gators are starting to play. That's my little sign going off. Apologize for that. But Titan MRI and Imaging. The great folks at Titan MRI and Imaging have 2 locations in Gainesville, 1 in Lake City, and soon coming to Ocala to serve all of Marion County. No insurance, no problem. You can pay to play. Come in there all day, any time of day. They're ready to serve you. Larger MRI machines for comfort, CT scans, X-rays, Titan MRI and Imaging. It's your choice. Rob, who you got on the show tomorrow?
Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, Dudley Dawson, Inside Arkansas, Vince Ferrara, The Hill in Knoxville, with executive producer extraordinaire, Brendan Martin. Man, what an honor to be on here with you. Thanks so much.
And to my man, Tony Geiger, appreciate you, bro. We'll definitely be talking, man. Appreciate you coming on. That's your insight to the next head coach. We'll talk tomorrow, and we'll see you next week, guys. Recording live from somewhere. Thanks for joining us. Go Gators.